pouring in, but let's get started on time and reward all the people who are ready. And now the people who are coming in might just miss a few of our introductions.
Yeah.
Hello from our home offices to yours. Welcome to the Crisis Recovery Growth Webinar, a marketer's roadmap, today with a big focus on content. It's my pleasure to welcome our panel today, which has over 60 years combined experience in search and digital marketing. Fernando Angelo is currently head of communications at SEMrush, a digital marketing software company for SEO and SEM. He's actively involved in the search marketing world and a regular speaker at digital marketing and e-commerce conferences and events worldwide. He's a specialist in competitive intelligence and competitor research, SEO and paid traffic strategies for e-commerce and online business. He has lived and worked in Bolivia, Argentina, Chile, Spain, Czech Republic, and Russia, and he's joining us this evening, his time, from his home office in Prague. Mike Grahan is an SEO pioneer, author, world traveler, keynote speaker, and champagne connoisseur. He was the publisher of SearchEngineWatch.com and ClickZ.com and producer of the industry's largest search and social marketing event of its time, SES Conference and Expo, which I remember well, and I liked it very much, Mike. Thank you.
Dude, you're welcome.
He's the proud chairman of SEMPO, the largest global trade association for search marketers, and he's equally proud to be the CMO and managing director of Acronym Search Marketing Agency. Fun fact, he used to be a popular radio DJ in the UK, and he was the first independent show to go over 1 million listeners. He's the author of several books on SEO, with one coming out soon on entity-based SEO. Next, we have Khalid Saleh. Khalid's marketing journey started when he co-founded Invesp, one of the first agencies dedicated to conversion rate optimization. Success rates of conversion optimization projects hover around 12%. These low success rates tell a story of many marketers failing to understand why consumers hire a product and fire another. He explains that marketers tell businesses that all they have to do to achieve unparalleled growth is to focus on customers and understand their needs. It can be difficult to escape from buzzwords such as customer first, customer centricity, or growth hacking. Invest helps well-established brands and fast-growing startups increase their conversion rates. You can learn conversion optimization from Khalid by signing up for his online conversion optimization mastery course at bit.ly/CRO-academy, and we'll send out that link to you after if you want to follow up. And I'm Eric Newton. I'm the VP of Marketing at Milestone, and prior to this, I was VP of Growth at BrightEdge. I've published over 160 blogs and dozens of papers and reports on SEO. My passions are marketing research as content, big POVs, storytelling, and how marketing can help every department, even accounting. And since we're mentioning books, you can find my book, Hack the Corporate Fast Track, at Amazon. All right, I hope that gets you fired up for our webinar today. We're so glad you've taken the time to listen and hope you'll ask questions so we know whether we're bombing or killing it. We are recording and we will distribute the deck and the audio track within a few days. So our agenda today is to talk about the crisis recovery growth, how it impacts the customer journey, and what to do in those 3 phases. And each of us is going to take a little bit of a different perspective on how COVID's impacting how we do marketing. Then Fernando's going to give us more data on marketing patterns and shifts that he's seeing in the market during the CRG phases. And Mike is going to go into intent, entity, and a little bit on BIRD. And Khalid is going to tell us about conversion and CRO. Then I'm going to talk about takeaways, and I'm going to share an audience benchmark of unpublished research. It'll be the first time I'm announcing the research publicly. And the research is based on you as the registrant. So I've been all weekend long, I was running and crawling sites and coming up with insights about structured data and entities and performance and speed that I can share with you as a benchmark. All right, if you're new to Milestone is an omnichannel solution combining a MarTech platform with agency services for healthcare, hospitality, retail, financial, and B2B tech, with the fastest and only SEO first CMS in the market. The customer journey has always been hard to define. You know, I've been working on, you know, we've been talking a lot about journey for like the last 5, 6, 7 years. And COVID is rewriting the journeys for most industries. It's for reasons like needing to rapidly adapt to change that Milestone manages an omnichannel approach for its customers that goes from user experience to crawlability, relevancy, tracking, clickability, schemas, technical, site performance, design. All of these things have to come together. And if you pay attention to all of these things as you do your work, then when there is a gigantic disruption like COVID, you'll be in a much better position to adjust and react than if you're just emphasizing, you know, just paid or just SEO or just site performance. So, you know, it really pays to have a broad view and to kind of be active in what you're doing with all those sections and channels. So this is the CRG framework, and this is our 4th in the series of CRG webinars. So you might have seen it before, but I'll touch on it again. Crisis, recovery, and growth. The crisis period obviously was in March when most cities, states, and most countries went on shelter at home. And there was a huge disruption, you know, where people were working on continuity of operations for their customers and their future customers. And there was a lot of updating that had to be done. Some of our customers were updating different hours for 4,000 different branches more than once per day during the early days of the crisis. So it was really about kind of quickly responding and providing the crucial information people needed to go to a bank, go to a restaurant, get food, get prescriptions, whatever that was. So in the next phase, it was a little less, definitely a little less crisis phase. This is a little bit more like April. And you can see the number of webinars coming out, people producing content, people getting used to being at home. We noticed in our sales force that their phones were being forwarded. So their phones would be picked up either on, you know, the Zoom or their computer, or they'd be forwarding to their cell phones. So we were able to engage with customers again or prospects, and the experience was pretty different because they were a little less busy. So actually, while less people were available, more people were picking up, and we ended up having more conversations, and we're able to kind of figure out what they wanted and provide them content that, you know, got those conversations and that relationship going. So as marketers, we work on all the channels in all the phases, but there's an emphasis, and I've reordered the emphasis in crisis, recovery, and growth to the ones that you should really you know, focus on and emphasize. One of the things that we've been doing and that our customers have been doing is to get the house in order and do some of those technical health SEO projects that we haven't been able to get to. It hasn't bubbled up from, you know, top 7 to really top 3. And I'm going to show you some of the impact of getting entities and schema and speed right, and what that does, what that can do for lifting visibility and conversion. Now, the growth phase is hopefully coming within a couple of weeks. You know, there's some states within the United States, probably some of our listeners are in some of those states that have partially or largely reopened. And within probably 4 or 5 more weeks, maybe June, most places are going to be returning to a somewhat more normal with less lockdown. And the companies that go to webinars like this and use the takeaways and then execute those takeaways onto their websites are going to be in a much better position to capture traffic from their customers, from their opportunities. All right. So this is the CRG series. We're at the 4th one here. And as I said, we will make the recap and the slides available to you within a couple of days. So if you want to see any of these other webinars, go to our website, look in the blog, or look in the webinar section. All right, first up is Fernando from SEMrush. And Fernando, I'm going to transfer the mouse to you, and you should have it in just a moment. And let me know if you need, okay, you got it, good.
Yes, I have it. Thank you very much. So let's start from what data you need to have and how you need to take those points in order to be more effective during each of the strategy stages. So starting from the beginning, I will recommend you to check where you have the data, how you are saving the data, how you are collecting that data. So it is the data that your company owns available for everyone outside of the company. So in this case, in the crisis situation, many companies faced that, okay, they need to use VPNs, they don't have enough remote policies for workers, so they were just having a lot of problems with this. So you need to have a backup data for that as well. Information. So what to do with the information, because it's constantly changing. You have new patterns, you have new hidden data inside of the data that you're owning. And of course, you need to check some points. I'm going to show you what are those points that you need to check. And of course, knowledge is always good when you can action on. When you can create action with the knowledge that you are acquiring. So look for patterns in every single part of the data that you own. Let's start from the organic search perspective. So here we have different changes during the last 2 weeks. Actually, when Google is making some changes, they're doing several changes per day, per week, per month. But hopefully, the last couple of weeks, we don't have any major changes, so we are all fine with this. But here, for example, this this is one of the tools that we have that is called organic search. Here you can check something really interesting, and is the feature snippets that you have, or maybe your competitor have also. And here you can check keyword by keyword exactly what are those keywords that are activating those feature snippets. So just for an instance, I was asking a question in January this year when I was in Norway to business owners, how many feature snippets your business have, because you have a website. And they were saying, oh, I don't know if I have feature snippets. So you just go and check it. And I pick up this example because, okay, here you can see only for the United States, this site has 151 feature snippets. So you need to check how many you have. Some of them can be by default because you have the format for acquiring those snippets, but your competitors can come and can steal from you those results if you don't have the proper format. So check your feature snippets. Go there and check it. Also for the rest of the SERP features, so for the local pack, check if you have those keywords ranking for the local pack and for the images, for the videos as well, for the rest of the SERP features. So identify first the feature snippet. How many you have there in place for the current situation. And of course, you need to check, and this is for the crisis situation. You have all the information about COVID related to your business that is required. If you are in the health industry, this is not something that you need. This is something that you must have in your website. And you need to have, of course, the best sources, and you just can check what are the sources that your competitors are acquiring, so you can see the gap there between your backlink profile and the backlink profile from your competitors. So take a look into the backlinks of your competitors. And also, when you are trying to identify what is working for me, just go and do a site audit. Check how good is your website in terms of technical SEO. Why? Because when this situation is going to be over, or we are going to recover it, we are going to go into the from the recovery to the growth stage. We will need to have better better structure, better architecture in our website. Why? Because Google and all other search engines are going to have a lot of changes. What we have right now is a special situation, but when we're going to be recovering and growing, there's going to be a completely different story. So we need to have to prepare this inside of our sites. And of course, when we are facing the situation when our audience is going somewhere else, not visiting only our site, and we say that we are losing traffic, we need to check it as well with data. So this is another tool that we have that is called audience overlap, and this tool is telling you how many people from your competitor's website are visiting you and them at the same time, or in a certain period of time. So let's say this, for example, for let's say March, how many people from Adidas were going to Nike, or from air companies, from hotels, from any industry. Just put here the domains, and we're going to show you where what is the percentage of people visiting your site and your competitors' side. Why you need to do this? Because you need to check how the audience is engaged with your own services or products, and maybe they are not so engaged and they're going to your competitors. Okay, so basically most of the industries that were suffering most at the beginning of the crisis, some of them they're still in that moment, they were reacting a lot on social media. So social media right now is growing really fast. And here you just need to check how good you are in terms of comparing your level of audience, your level of activity and engagement inside of your industry. So let's check how your competitors are doing there, because most of the companies, they are just following the leader of the market, and they are not doing something special. You can see here, for example, if we take a look on Combase, they are basically doing everything on Twitter and Facebook, and their competitors are like ignoring them completely. That's why you need to check, okay, the leaders of the market are here. Why am I'm doing something in Google Plus? Google Plus is not working already 1 year or 6 months or something like that. While you are doing something in Instagram, where in this industry your competitors are doing great on Twitter. So go and do the go and improve your Twitter profile. And of course, you need to check how creative your competitors are, having the knowledge about the timing when the audience is more reactive. So basically these days, when we are sending an emailing or when creating a post, the level of reaction, well, in first part, the open rate for our emailings growth from 15% to 75%. So basically everybody's opening our emails today. And the reaction from our audience to any post on social media has grown about 500%. So people are reacting on social media. You just need to be there and check how also your competitors are doing well. So check how good they are doing on social media. And of course, what do you do? What you need to do in the current situation? Let's make things more easier. And if you have already all this knowledge, you just need to watch the trends, follow the trends. If you are starting writing something about COVID-19, what is, so you are kind of late because everybody already knows about that. You just need to follow the trends. Having, for example, this week in most of the countries, most of the countries' cities were opening their doors, the restaurants and the open spaces. You just need to follow this to check, okay, maybe the restaurants needs my help, maybe the big e-commerces need my help. You just need to go and check all the trends. And of course, you just need also to understand how to work with schema markups, with markups. I believe Mike is going to be telling more about this. And of course, Trustpilot is one of the good ones with most of the results that our customers and clients are using. It's very easy to use, and it can give you really, really good conversions. So when you are measuring what is happening, not only on organic research, but also on paid advertising, will be good to understand how much money they are investing on ads, or how much money they have got from a fundraising or from investments. So with the traffic trend, here you can see their budgets on ads. Also, you can see the growth in terms of traffic acquisition, and you can just compare it with the news, and you can see, okay, they have a fundraising from $10 million. So see how they're growing, because they have a marketing team, they're working with big agencies. So you can check that as well. Having all this knowledge just to identify how good or bad they are. Because in some cases, as you can see here, big companies these days are making a lot of mistakes. A lot of companies are doing advertising, but without any strategy, without any information, and they are using the wrong keywords from not from their industry, as you can see here as well. So this is a tool, everybody's using it, but we identify some of the keywords that they are using just from a keyword research, and they are using not very good keywords. So you just need to identify also their mistakes. Having all this knowledge will help you to create the persona, your buyer persona, and identify the competitors that are around you. So you have the complete picture, you have all the stages, and you have the specific moment and knowing exactly where you can find your users. They are in search engines, they are on Amazon, they are on social media. Go there where your users are. And basically, most of the people are online these days, so you have the possibility to be with them really, really with a high level of efficiency. So basically, that's it. That's all from me. Take a look at the patterns. Any question? I believe we will have all the questions at the end.
Thanks very much. That was really fascinating, Fernando. All right, Mike, you're up next.
All right, thank you very much, Fernando. Great job there. By the way, I didn't realize that you lived in Prague. That was where I met my wife. We'll have a chat later on about all of the great things that go on in Prague. Yeah, so I guess probably what I want to talk about is different areas of the science that go into SEO. Let me just see if I can get some control of the deck here. Oh, yep, there we go. Oh, that's my office. I haven't been there for a very long time. So for a long time, though, I have been a member of ACM, which is the world's largest computing society. And inside the association, there are 37 special interest groups, one of which is for information retrieval science. And I'm a senior member. I should say I'm not a scientist, just a keen, curious, long-time observer of the science and how it applies to search marketing and consumer behavior. The quote that you can see there from Professor Gerard Salt is important. I've always believed that the more you understand about Google's successes and ongoing challenges, search is not a solved problem, then the better you understand not just what you do as an SEO, but more importantly, why you're doing it. The highlight in that quote there is very important: retrieval of information. That means not exact matches, but information about things and stuff. And that will become more obvious as the lines begin to blur between data retrieval and information retrieval when we talk about entity search. In thinking about what's the difference between data retrieval and information retrieval, don't need to go point for point here. How do they relate to the user? Database systems are all about numbers and short strings, pattern matching, as Fernando mentioned earlier. On the retrieval side, it's all about textual queries and ranked retrieval, plus database systems usually require a skilled programmer, whereas on the information retrieval side, even a natural-born nitwit like me knows what to do. To put that in a SEO and search context, it's an example I've used many times. If we were to stick to rigid, structured data rules with keywords, if I did a search for the term fish tank, I would only ever see documents that had those words in. I would never actually see a tropical fish aquarium. And a tropical fish aquarium could actually be the most relevant result for me. Information retrieval and web search. This is exactly what it is that Google's doing. I've been using this slide for a very long time. In three broad sweeps, what is it that search engines do? You need to be aware of this because even though this is a very old slide, it still encapsulates the way to frame SEO with your information retrieval science hat on at the same time. So page content, let's just call that content to begin with. In marketing and consumer psychology, a lot is discussed on the subject of what is known as source and channel factors. And in particular, right now we hear a lot these days about so-called fake news. The source of the content, as in who created it, is imperative to engagement. And you'll see that I've got EAT, E-A-T, which is currently in the SEO lexicon at this time, expertise, authority, and trust. That may be new to Google Raters, but that's been around for a long time in information retrieval science. So the end user, perhaps your next customer, needs to know that the content they're engaging with comes from a reliable source and is created by someone or some company that, let's just say, knows their stuff. That's the E for expertise. Hyperlink analysis, yep, that's the scientific term. It's backlinks in SEO. It's crucial in discovering, and the important keyword here is important. Web pages, important web pages, because links are about the prestige of the source that they come from. In fact, in the earliest days in link algorithms and PageRank with Google, the prestige score was baked into it, and I believe that it is still there. So they're all about quality. It's not about quantity. And that's how authority is created. You can't bestow it upon yourself. You earn that distinction by the company that you keep. And those are the other expert content creators that link to you. And when you analyze those link clusters, Google then begins to discover important web communities. Remember, the web is a network of networks, and you're inside your own community there. That's what creates authority. Who engages with your stuff? If you create what you believe to be the best content and you get links from peers in your web community, we could call that the industry sector for more clarity, then you'll see that required kickstart to get you going as far as ranking is concerned. Those are the links that you initially attract. But if the end user doesn't think your content is good, or more to the point, if they don't trust the source, then that kickstart won't get you very much further. Google is all about the end user experience. And if the feedback they get shows that content of any sort is getting zero engagement, then think about this. Why would that content get promoted in any way at all in a ranking algorithm? The user, end user data is really important here. So quite some time ago, these are another 3 words that are really important. If you keep the EAT, the EAT acronym in mind, and then let's add these 3 really important words to it: informational, navigational, and transactional. So these 3 words actually represent the cognitive phases that a searcher goes through to satisfy the human need for information. And using that EAT acronym, your job is to create a content experience. That's a content experience, not content for the sake of content, but a great experience at each stage of the journey. And then that is easily connected to the customer journey. The paper explaining this was written by a leading scientist back in 2002. I had the pleasure of meeting Andre Broder, and this is as relevant now as it was then. Create content around intent. The intent is informational, navigational, and transactional. And that informational stage is actually the most important stage to connect much earlier with your potential next customer. That always leads us to ask this question. So what is content? Usually people talk about text and headlines and meta tags and title tags and those kind of things. But if you take a look there, if you understand that taxonomy of search, informational, navigational, transactional, at each stage of that journey, what would be the best content experience? Could be a web page, could be a 30-second video. It could be just an image. You have to remember that the job is to satisfy the information need at that particular point in time and make sure that the engagement is right. As I say, the earlier that you can connect at that informational stage, I've been saying this for so long, at that particular stage, stop selling, start helping. That's where people begin on their journey. They start with a problem, they're looking for an answer. Stop selling, start helping. So let's move on and take it to the next level, where we move from standard information retrieval science, which has been around for a while. It's still very important to Google. And look at what the difference is with structured data. We touched on the difference between data retrieval and information retrieval. We talk about semantic web, entities, schema. It's all about structured data. The British scientist, I'll say that again, British scientist who invented the World Wide Web, he invented the original web and said it was a medium of documents. People are not looking for documents. What they're looking for is actionable information. They're actually looking for answers. They're actually looking for, well, let's take a look. What do we mean when we take a look at this actionable information? We're talking about a web of relations between resources, between people, between places, between events. And that is what we call actionable information. And even more important now in this particular environment, because this is a way that you can base all of your work done on the information retrieval side, creating that content, and then rapidly being able to update it and augment it with this schema, with this structured data. What would be more important when I'm looking for information on the web than this? All of that content connected together and creating the knowledge graph. And that is one of the ways that structured data is so important in order to get you into that knowledge graph. There are answers to questions that are being asked. If you own the answer, then you get the prestige, the authority, and own the expertise behind it. So wrapping up real quick, I don't want to go through everything that's on this particular slide here. We can chat about it more in a minute, but the image that you can see there, I took that from the Google developers website. The text that you can see is taken from a live presentation by 2 developers at Google. The way that Google developers look at how they can use structured data or schema, as we talk about it, is as follows, as you can see there. They look at it at the page level. That's one page, a single leaf. They look at domain level and the results level. And you can connect that to the information on the right-hand side. At the page level, could be an article, a news article, or a blog post. That means that you'll make it into the top stories carousel, which is up there just to the very top right. The host carousel, if you are indeed an expert, if you've created this great content, you get the whole of that carousel directly from your own content on your domain. And rich results, I think we know a lot about rich results, and certainly Fernando touched on some of that just then. That includes all of the styling and the images and the other features that go with it that you can get at the results level. One of the most important things that I heard, and I think this is where it links all of this together, this is one of the reasons that I wanted to try and link the information retrieval science to data retrieval and to this movement into structured data. At the event where the Google developers were explaining all of this, you can see a quote there. And finally, at the result level, the most important thing the developers said is the highlight. If we have a result that ranks, that's the most important thing. And that's why I talked about all of the standard SEO stuff that you need to do on the information retrieval side, the expertise, the authority, the trust that you need to gain, because it's not until Google begins to see some of that movement that you are beginning to rank, that your structured data will really kick in. That's when it really begins to augment. And again, as you've seen from, again, some of the data that Fernando had from click-through and engagement, it really starts to rock when you're there. So you have to get EAT, you have to get all of that right, and then you have to augment it with your structured data. I think we're moving into an entirely different phase from SEO. I never liked the term search engine optimization because I've been in this industry for 20 odd years. I've never met anybody who's optimized a search engine, but we've been stuck with SEO. What I tend to do with the people that I work with now is talk about a content experience analyst, CEA, fulfilling content gaps to provide a more useful experience. It's about the user experience. And when we get to chat later on, I want to tell you what I'm predicting or forecasting for the future of search. 2 words, and I'll save those until we have that conversation and hand it back to Eric.
All right, thanks, Mike. That was even better the second time after prep and all that. I really understood it better. All right, Khalid, let's take it away.
Sure. 1 second.
Oh, Mike, we forgot to cover this.
Yeah, so I think Eric did mention earlier on that I did work as a radio DJ back in the day. And just in case you're wondering, this is from nearly a century ago. Well, actually, about 40 years ago, and that's a very young me in a radio station. There you go.
Okay, Khalid, ready?
Very good. Yep. Ready. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So what I'd like to talk to you about, what do you do over the next 3 to 4 months as we now are entering the recovery stage and moving to the growth stage, what your focus should be. And I think this chance of being stuck at home gives marketers a chance to step back and rethink the fact that sometimes we're not busy with the busy work, we're able to really step back and think about our approach to marketing. I speak at conferences all across the world, and the one question that I'm always asked is, what's an average website conversion rate? And I always tell people, if that's the question that you're asking me, then you're asking the wrong question, because your goal is not to figure out what the average is. Your goal is to outdo the average to the point that your competitors become really irrelevant. So I'll give you an example of what I say, how predictable marketers are. Weston, they spend about $30 million and they come up with the Weston Heavenly Bed. And if you ever visited the Weston, an absolutely amazing bed. I remember after they announced it, I actually spent the night there just to try it out. And I'm like, oh my God, just to climb up. And I'm 5'11", so it's not difficult for me to climb up, but it was a challenge. $30 million they spend, to create this bed, and it's absolutely amazing. Now, what do other brands that are competing with Weston do? Again, very predictable. Not to be outdone, Hilton goes and they say, you know what, we are going to spend money, and they release the Serenity bed. Not to be outdone, Marriott spends $190 million and they release the Revive collection. Same thing with the Hyatt, the Radisson, and the Crown Plaza. So lots of times as marketers, we just copy the things that we know have worked for others. And what that ends up doing is really limiting the options that the consumers have. Everything has been commoditized, correct? Products have been commoditized, services have been commoditized. And if you're trying to increase conversion rates, if you're trying to figure out, okay, well, I'm going to go into a growth area, well, the challenge that you need to figure out is, how do you stand out from the competition? So we all drink bottled water every now and then. And if you think about it, all bottled water very much, tastes very similar to each other. And then I was reading this research where the marketing team at Avon Marketing, at Avon Water, they actually believed that their water tasted better. So I got a laugh out of that. I'm like, okay, they really think that their water tastes better, because in the mind of the consumers, no, it's all water. And in the mind of your consumer, regardless of the industry that you're in, you probably look very similar to your competitors. So as a marketer, that's a very important question that you want to answer and you want to think about. You want to avoid the herd mentality, because if you're just copying what competitors are doing and that's your goal, then you're not going to be successful. You want to figure out, how do I stand out from the competition? And an amazing question that I've heard from Keith Cunningham that I keep on repeating is, and he told me, answer this question and you will succeed. And I think you answer it, you'll succeed, whether you're doing conversion optimization, you're doing SEO, you're doing content. What is the difference that will make the difference? What is the difference in your product, in your services, in your content, in your marketing approach that will make the difference for your end consumer, for your end customer, correct? You want to say, this is the one thing that we offer that our competitors do not offer. You need to be able to express to a potential prospect by saying that, listen, here's what we do, and here's what we do clearly. Here's what our competitors do. Now, if you are looking for what our competitors do, then you probably should go with them. If you are looking for what we do, then we are the best in the world at it. So I actually have spent quite a bit of time with our clients over the last 6 weeks, analyzing their positioning. Where do they stand compared to their competitors? And I think if you can figure this out and you're able to position that in your marketing campaigns and on your site, then a major portion of your conversion problem will be solved. Now, the other thing that you can use this period, and also as you move on over the next 3-4 months, is to ask a question, well, what do I need to do actually in more practical steps to actually increase my site conversion rate, to increase my landing pages conversion rate, my campaigns conversion rates? So people lots of times focus on one of two areas. One area that they focus on is, well, we have some bugs and problem areas on our site. People are trying to log in, but they cannot log in. Well, guess what? you probably need to fix that. And lots of times, unfortunately, as marketers, we get used to our site, correct? We get used to the problems in it. And for the average consumer who just saw your site for the first time, they're not going to get used to, nor would they put up with the problems that you have on your website. So you want to make sure that you bring, and it doesn't have to be somebody who is specialized in something technical. You can probably ask your wife or your husband who is not familiar with your site to perform certain tasks on your site, and you list all the problems that they struggle with. So that's one area that you want to focus on, and that's kind of the basis. You have to have a site working correctly. The next level is usability issues. I'm clicking on a button, but the right action is not happening. I'm clicking on a button, but I'm waiting, and the site is not letting me know what's happening with the site. You want to fix also usability issues, things that you expect to happen on the website that need to happen. That's kind of the second level. And I always say bugs can really kill your conversion. Usability impacts your conversion. You're talking about 10 to 15 to 20%. The third level, which is the hardest and the area that everybody shies away from looking at because it's really hard. And by nature, also humans are very predictable. You know, we like to do the easy things, correct? That's what we do because it's easier to succeed at them versus the harder ones. Focus on conversion issues. And the biggest example that I can give in conversion issues versus usability issues, when you fix them, a person says, well, I can buy from this site. You fix conversion issues, and guess what people say? I want to buy from this website. I can buy versus I want to buy. There's a big difference between the two. I don't want to take too much time. We've just released our conversion optimization master class. I think it has about 65 lectures, and we're probably even going to double the number of lectures by next week, where we go into a lot more detail about how do you actually optimize the experience of somebody, and how do you actually go not from 1 or 2% conversion rate, 1 to 2% conversion rate, but how do you actually start breaking into the double conversion rates. With that, let me hand it back to you, Eric.
All right, Khalid, that was awesome. Thanks. All right, so just to revisit the crisis recovery growth framework, and you can kind of see how a lot of today's discussion was in the recovery phase of talking about the content that we're using, talking about how that content is contextualized, and the technical health of our site and how that sets us up to win. So you guys will be able to go over this in detail when we send it out to you. All right, so there was a lot of takeaways. There was a lot of material here. Here's 7 of my best takeaways. Is that you need to do the topical research frequently, and especially when we're in this fast-changing environment. You need to find the rich snippet opportunities and define the entities with advanced schemas. So this was what Fernando talked about, combined with what Mike talked about, is we have to find out what questions people are asking and what rich snippets are available in the SERPs, and then we have to wrap with schemas. We have to create topic clusters to increase expertise. This is part of what Mike was talking about, but this is kind of the core of content is making sure that the logic and the connection and the context of your website highlights the depth of content you have so that you get a high E score on the EAT. Particularly important in recovery and growth. And recovery gives us a little bit of chance to reorganize that and make sure it is clustered and piled and siloed together. You need to improve your site performance. This is always, but it's even more important when we come back to the market and there's a lot of pent-up demand. You know, the economy is going to be down double digits during shelter in place, but it's going to be up double digits when we come back. And you want to make sure that, you know, you are capitalizing on velocity and people's pent-up desire to travel and go out and go to hotels and shop for clothes and so on. You need to keep developing new offers. I think this was always true, but it became even more true that you had to adapt with different offers. And Khalid talked about how you get these different offers onto your site and then make them really work for the customer experience. And that is by running experiments and increasing conversion. You have to working on your ranking listings is with schemas will help you get decorated and then saturate the SERP. So there's a lot of words in there, but what that means is work on your strengths by making them stronger. That the signal, when you're seeing a signal that you're in the top 12, 10, 8, 7, work on those and take up more space in the SERPs with all the kinds of content that Mike was talking about. So a lot of takeaways here, lots to talk about, and we've got about 15 minutes left. I got a couple more things to show you. And this is the research data that I developed for the audience. So I ran a sample of we had about 1,000 people registered today, and 34% of the sites sampled have no schema at all on their website. There's no structured data, there's just HTML. Only 9% of the sample, so 91% of the sample does not use advanced schemas of 8 types or more. And the schemas are defined by Google and schema.org, and they're used by multiple search engines, and they're adding new types all the time. The average Milestone customer has 20 to 30 types and about 750 lines of code to provide structured data. And we see massive lift in every kind of good result that you would want to see from deploying that. Now, we do have sites using schema, but unfortunately about half of those sites are showing schema errors, and errors are very detrimental. Google will decrement, the gains that you made from doing structured data in a correct way. By, we see customers who have an error, or when Google changes the guideline or spec and they don't notice, and it looks like an error, they drop 35% in visibility and in traffic overnight, and then we fix those and it goes back up. So it's very causal. Errors are very causal to traffic coming to the site. So what that netted out to, and this is really shocking to me. I'm looking at hundreds of sites. Every time we do a webinar, I'm adding to this benchmark, and I'm developing industry vertical benchmarks, and I'll be issuing research reports on those. Only 2% of the sites in today's webinar have advanced schemas without errors. So that is a big opportunity for 98% of you to do what Mike was talking about, do what Khalid was talking about, and do what Fernando was talking about. Sites with schema, I mean, the data's off the charts. We have 10x increase in knowledge panel, 2.4 times more pages indexed in Google, lots of visibility, lots of traffic gains. For many years, I wasn't sure if schema was worth doing, but I'm now quite sure it is a very, very important integral. If it's not a signal, it's correlated with a signal that is. Only 3% of sites are using AMP. This is really fascinating because we all know about AMP. We all heard about it a couple years ago, but it didn't, for the same resistance I had towards schema, that I didn't get into AMP because I wasn't a news site and I didn't feel like my place in the carousel was so valuable that I wanted to create this third version of my website. We see that AMP itself correlates with increased traffic, and it correlates with performance, experience, and traffic. It's a good signal to Google, but only 3% of the sites are using AMP at all. The average mobile speed score of the audience is 35, which is not good. There is a lot of slowness out there. A good score is above 85. So these are some interesting opportunities, and we would like to offer, that is not what I wanted to do. And I have a lot of panels here. Get this back open. And so we wanted to help you guys look at that opportunity. So we do schema assessments and content assessments to address the opportunities that the panel has focused on here today. If you'd like one of those, go to go.milestoneinternet.com/audit, and we'll put this URL up during the questions phase. And these take us a couple hours to do, so we can only do this for the first 30 registrants from the from today's webinar. But if you'd like some more insight on how to address these opportunities, we can prepare this for you. Some other helpful resources are, we've collected our COVID CRG content on this URL, milestone.com/COVID-19 Resource Center. And today we are releasing CRG reopening checklist because we are trying to walk our talk here about getting the content ready for the phase that we're in. We're obviously in the beginning of the recovery phase and hopefully heading for growth. And we have some specific, about 30 steps that are targeted for each different type of vertical. And if you'd like to check out, go download those checklists, you can find them from the COVID page. And you can find the one that's the best for your industry, and let us know if you find it helpful. All right, so we've got 10 minutes left, and I want to go to questions. And my first question is for you, Khalid, and that is, what have you found to be the relationship between excellent content and conversion? So we're all familiar with like moving the buttons around, but what does the content itself do when you really have Mike's type of expertise content deployed in the experience?
So better content means better conversion, correct? I mean, it doesn't really need a lot of thinking around it. The challenge that I see is lots of times people focus on content marketing, or they think that they're doing content marketing, but what they are doing is that they are doing content and they're not doing the marketing piece of it, correct? Yeah. So they're just pumping a whole bunch of content, content amplification, figuring out that for somebody who visited my content, how do I retarget them? How do I bring them back? What kind of lead magnets do I have on my website? How do I nurture them? I just posted on LinkedIn my journey trying to buy a charger for an iPhone and an Apple Watch and AirPods. And the journey as a consumer, where it's not like, very linear. I'm back and forth. I'm reading review sites. And sometimes I look at some of these review sites and these YouTube videos, and people put amazing videos. And I'm like, man, I read your sites, but I go and I convert on one of your competitors' sites, which is really horrible, correct? If you have amazing content, you need to know how to market it, and then you need to use it in your own conversion funnel, because that will be extremely powerful. Otherwise, you're probably helping someone else to get that conversion.
Yeah, so you're saying definitively better content converts better. I know it gets top of funnel, it gets them to the site better, but have you been able to prove that it converts better when you're more authoritative?
Definitely. I mean, we've worked with a lot of B2B more on the complex sale, where it's a lengthier funnel, and we've seen them. And sometimes we've done site-wide testing where they'll produce lots of content, and we have 2 different versions of the website. Now, with these type of sites, it takes a while, correct, to get some of these testing, because it might take 2 to 3 months, and anyways, conversions don't happen right away. But we have seen it. With good content, you're able to generate more leads, and you're able to close those leads.
Awesome. Thank you, Khalid. All right, from the audience, if you are a startup competing with a high EAT established competitors, how do you identify opportunities that your competitors may be overlooking? Let's start with Fernando. How would you, and you're on mute, yeah, good. How would you find the opportunity? And then let's go to Mike and say, how do you really know if your own EAT is right? Fernando?
Yes, I will start taking a look into their traffic sources, just doing a traffic comparison. They are doing really good with direct traffic. So, maybe they're working with radio, TV, they're out of your budget, but maybe they're not, and they're doing something that is extremely easy to reply, it's easy to copy and improve. So in this case, just take a look. What is this, the best source of traffic for them? Direct or organic, paid, is social media, or it's referral. They're doing a lot of backlinks, and compare yourself with them. So you will identify the source of the success of their business. So check the traffic first.
All right, Mike, and if I'm a small site competing against the site that has known authority, how do I succeed?
I mean, first of all, there is no kind of an EAT score. I mean, this is something that Google quality raters are being told to look for. In information retrieval science, as I say, it's been there forever. This is understanding the source. So yeah, you need to create great content. But more importantly, it's like any new business. You have to imagine, if you go to a new town, if you open in a new geographical location, if you're a small business expanding, how do people get to know you in that area? You have to create a reputation for yourself, which is why the link is so important. Stop thinking about links and think about business opportunities. Think about what I said before about your insider web community. Within that community, those people will give you links if you do business with them. And don't think that you have to do anything on your own. I want to say something real quick. One of the things that I discovered, and I've talked to all of our clients about more recently because of this situation, is you are not alone. Not just in the middle of this crisis and the period that we're going through, but as a business online. There are many other people you can do business with. And when you come up with ideas for co-promotions, doing business together, build a band of brands, right, which builds trust, you get the links that go with it. It's something I could talk about forever. Can I answer another question real quick that you haven't asked, Eric, but it's really important, really important? It was the comment that you made before about, I wonder if schema, and you had that. Schema's been around for a really long time, and I want to explain just in 1 minute why it's so important and why you need to think about this for the future, okay? The nature of the web, crawling the web, what Google's been doing since day one, they realized fairly earlier on that the web grows exponentially every single day. This pervasive myth that Google has the entire World Wide Web, has access to it, wrong. They have access to a fraction, a large fraction of that they've been able to crawl. But now they're into trillions and trillions of links. I mentioned this the other day. They tried to crawl the entire web. We'd be dead before they got to the end of it, okay? It's very expensive to crawl the web. But that's the way, from an information retrieval point of view, they get to understand what's on your website. However, because they can't speed up the web, they can't speed up their crawler, if you start and feed data directly to them that they ask you for, that they don't have to figure out, structured data, which is exactly what they're doing, yes? Going forward, they won't have to crawl your website every single day to find out if you changed a word, a sentence, a period, a comma, whatever it is. It's too expensive. They'll get it from the structured data that's being fed to them. So thinking at this point in time, is that actually a ranking signal? No, it's not, but it's certainly a great user experience signal going forward. So for those people that are not using structured data, no, it's not the answer to everything. But when you combine it with this great content that I talked about before and update it regularly, then Google will love you because they don't have to crawl you every single time to see if you changed a spelling mistake, you know?
Thanks, Mike. All right, Khalid, you were right. We're getting a lot of questions about conversion benchmarks, but I'm going to switch gears on you. And this question comes from Sophia. We manage over 40 plus brands and our products are very well known, but not our brand. How do I get more visits on my site with a very little budget? So this is a top of funnel question. Can you tackle it?
Oh man, here's what I think. And I'm going to talk about, like, you need to figure out a way to stand out because competition is very fierce, correct? I think we do marketing. And I think if somebody is just starting out with marketing right now and they try and produce content, there is, and let's say in conversion optimization or A/B testing, there is no way that you can beat us. We've been producing content since 2006. We've been producing articles that are 5,000 words for 15 years. Try and catch up with us. Very tough. Now, what you can do is figure out a way to be unique and to be different. Correct? And that's where marketing is. We as marketers like to find quick answers. Unfortunately, there are no quick answers, no easy answers, correct? But I think the minute you try and figure out something that to be unique, to stand out, that's how you can start driving more brand awareness. I would don't think of your marketing team as a marketing team. It's more of a media team, correct? That's what you need. You need to capture the attention of people. And the minute you do that, conversion, by the way, follows.
So would you say long tail, is that your recommendation? You're saying go hit the long tail and develop content there where it's going to be less competitive?
It's tough. I really think no, I think whether it's long tail or just the just kind of top keywords, I think what you need to do is figure out a way where you are more creative than the typical, okay, I'm going to put some blog, I'm going to put down some white papers, it's been done, correct? And
yeah, on top of that creative, I would add the structured data. I think the structured data is a differentiator for the caller in the way that Mike said it was, that it makes it easier for them to expose it. Thank you, Khalid. So another question is, what is the easiest thing one can do to increase mobile speed? Let's do a lightning round. I'm going to start with fixing JavaScript loading errors. That's going to be, I think, the number one for most websites. Number two is going to be AMP. Lightning round. Anybody else have one?
No, I'll agree with both of those things, but I wouldn't spend so much time concentrating on speed. You may have seen today that Google even said speed is a small ranking factor. Getting the content experience right and then getting the speed is important because it doesn't matter how fast you are. If you're not the most relevant result, it doesn't make any difference. Nobody's going to see you anyway.
Yeah. And the only other thing that I would add to that, there is kind of a marginal uplift, correct, that you'll get. If your pages are taking 10 to 12 seconds to load, I would definitely focus on speed. But if your pages are taking on average about 4 seconds, 5 seconds, but 4 seconds at this point, the gain that you get in terms of conversion from going from 4 seconds to 3 seconds.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're going to get abandoned. Every second, you're going to get more abandonment. So the experience gets better when you're under 1 second. And we do see a very strong correlation with speed and visibility and conversion. So improving speed, I think it's the right question. I'll go look at the article you guys are referring to, but I'm looking at data that goes up and down with speed, and I can see a lot of good correlations.
All I'm saying there, Eric, is that from a user experience Absolutely. The quicker you can download that content, the quicker I can get it.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of engagement, people don't understand. It's not, you know, how long does it take to load and how long do I spend on your page? If I'm the weather channel and I look for the weather in New York and it's 70 degrees, that's 0.8 of a second. But I want to know in less than 0.8 of a second what the weather is. So speed is a great user experience thing. I just don't think that you should spend more time concentrating on that than you do on the content experience, because that's a much stronger ranking factor. That's all.
All right, got it. All right, well, that is all the time we have. I want to thank my panel for joining us today, Fernando, Mike, and Khalid. Thank you so much for enriching our community with your insights and thought leadership. We look forward to doing things together in the content world again. Good luck, everybody. Stay safe. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.